My name's Andy. I live just outside Oxford. I love watching sport. I'm hopeless at playing it. Enjoy reading. I umpire cricket in the summer. Often that means people don't like me very much. I used to be a church leader, was a pastor for about 19 years. I had the misfortune of being born age 40, and that meant for a while I just hated being part of church as a kid because they got me to do childish things like memory verses, action songs, and I wanted to be an adult. But around the age of 12, one or two things happened, and it dawned on me that the God that I'd heard about was real, that at that point I didn't know him, and that I needed to. So I remember consciously deciding to follow Jesus and wanting to live for him. Not long after that, like most human beings, started to develop romantic feelings, sexual attractions. This wasn't something that I chose, but I remember those heading towards guys rather than girls in my teenage years. And 30 years on from being a teenager, that hasn't changed. So one of the big questions for me as I've gone through life has been, how do I live for Jesus at the same time as being attracted to people of the same sex? That's just one of those questions that has dominated life, really. For me, there's never been any real question about whether I should get into a same-sex relationship. I want to follow Jesus, and as I listen to what he says, he does define sex as being for the marriage of a man and a woman. So, to be honest, I've never really wrestled with that so much as just wrestling with, is this possible? Can I keep it going? Is some of the difficulties of living in this way really worth it? I remember a massive moment came for me when I was a student, and I was really wrestling with some of the pain of being single and sensing that would never change. And I remember being in church one Sunday, and the preacher was talking about a passage in 2 Corinthians where the Apostle Paul, he's got this thorn in the flesh that's deeply painful for him. And 3 times he'd prayed, Lord, take this away from me. And I think by this point I'd prayed about 333 times, Lord, please take some of the pain of my sexuality away. But God's answer to Paul was, my grace is sufficient for you. My power is made perfect in weakness. I remember those words just coming straight to me. It was probably God saying to me that he wasn't going to change my sexuality, but he would be enough for me. He would keep me going. He would enable me to thrive and to flourish. That actually, as I faced some of the challenges of that, it pressed me more deeply into him and knowing his love for me and his kindness towards me. And it's about 25 years now since I heard that sermon. And my story would be of God's grace being enough for me, keeping me going, giving me deep, meaningful friendships that aren't sexual and romantic, but nevertheless have an emotional intimacy to them, so that life isn't a story of loneliness. And actually using some of the more painful aspects of life, hopefully to help others. Funny enough, my friends say, it must be a nightmare talking about sexuality all the time. But I say, no, it's great, because I get to talk about the love story at the heart of the universe. The love that Jesus has for his church, that he came to earth as the bridegroom king, and history is heading towards a glorious wedding day. And all our sexualities are ultimately pointing to that. And I find that really good news. I reckon I'm going to be single for about 0.00001% of my existence. I'm going to be married to Jesus, part of the church, for 99.99999% of my existence. And I'm actually quite looking forward to the wedding day. And so what I've found as I've gone through life, it is not that it's always easy being single. It's not always easy not having a sexual or romantic relationship. But God's grace has been enough for me. And I'm really looking forward to the day to which all our sexuality points, when Jesus and the church get together forever and ever.